Right, today we're going to learn one of two techniques for factoring trinomials.
So, factoring trinomials. We've got a trinomial that's three terms, an x squared, an x, and a constant. The problem that we have in hand here is 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. So this is what we're going to factor. First thing you always ask yourself is for a greatest common factor.
Okay. Right, well, so when I look at that, I know I can't take an x, can't factor an x out, there's no x in the last term, I can't see any numbers to divide by. I can't see anything to factor out of that.
Okay, so there's nothing in common. When there's none, there's none. Okay, so we have no greatest common factor, so now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next step, and this is going to be called the AC method. Okay, so part of the AC method is that we're going to look at the original question. You're going to look at the first term and the last term. That's the AC.
Okay.
So going back, looking at your question, the first term was 2x squared, the last term was negative 3. Look at those coefficients.
Okay,
the 2 times the negative 3.
All right, so that's negative. That'll give me negative 6 when I multiply.
There you go.
Okay.
So kind of on the side, what I'm doing, switching over to this is what we want: two numbers to multiply to that negative 6. And then we want the two numbers to add to...
Okay, so that negative 5 in the middle.
There you go, the
okay,
middle term.
right.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
It's always the middle term, the add to the middle term. So now we need to find two numbers that multiply to negative 6 and add to negative 5.
Okay, right, so I'll try negative 2 and positive 3.
Okay, so you know those two multiply to negative 6?
Okay,
what do they add up to?
No, that's going to make 1 though, isn't it?
Okay.
Not negative
So
5. So let's try 2 and negative 3.
Okay.
So I've changed the size, that's negative 6, but again, that's not going to work. Well, 6 and 1 that makes 6, but if I need to get to negative 5, I need the 6 to be negative, so negative 6 and positive 1.
Perfect.
Right.
Does that
negative
work?
6 times that gives me negative 6 when I multiply. Yes, it gives me negative 5 when I add.
Perfect. Okay, so the first two didn't work. Oftentimes you don't get it right the first time. We finally got it. So the next part of the AC method is called factor by grouping. So factor by grouping, the first term stays the same, last term stays the same. You're rewriting the question. So I've got the 2x squared and then the negative 3. It's this middle term that we're going to change.
Okay.
Now, what the two numbers you came up with were negative 6 and 1.
Positive 1.
So negative 6x plus 1.
Okay, yeah, that's going to give me the negative 5x. Now, does it matter which way around they go? I mean, we've written negative 6 first.
It doesn't, no. That's just what I wrote first. It doesn't matter. The reason I wrote the negative 6x first is I noticed between the 2 and the negative 6, there's a 2 in common.
Okay.
I just like things to have things in common.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Okay.
So the factor by grouping is what's next. We're going to break it up into two groups. The first two terms, 2x squared minus 6x. What's in common?
Okay, so we can take a 2x out of that.
Absolutely. So you take a 2x out.
That'll leave me with an x minus 3.
There you go. So you take the 2x out, the parentheses is the what's left over.
We can check on this.
How do you check that? Distributive law.
So that'll give me, if I distribute
that
2x squared, okay, that's good, yeah, that works.
Absolutely, and always check it. It's always worthwhile to check. Second group, what can we do?
Now, I can't see anything at the moment to factor out of that, but I suppose we could always take the 1, take the 1 out.
Yeah, when there's nothing in common, there's a 1.
Okay.
And the reason you always want to write that there is so you can see those two matching parentheses. Now you notice there's an x minus 3 in common for both.
Okay, right, yeah, I can see the x minus 3 on both of them.
So now they have an x minus 3 in common. Okay, we have that. We can talk about bringing that out. Since it's in parentheses, it has to stay in parentheses, so it's going to be an x minus 3.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do next is the what's left over.
Okay.
So let's write that out. So we've got an x minus 3 in common.
Okay.
What's left over? The next side of the
well, I can see there 2x plus 1.
There you go. So we've got a 2x plus 1 left over. So that's it. We've written it as a factor form.
And that's the answer? Yeah.
That's the answer.
Okay, right.
How do we check it?
Well, I suppose go back, I can FOIL that to see if I get the original question.
Absolutely, always. The idea is you factored it, so you broke it up. You check your answer by foiling it and see if you get the original question.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take a minute and check it. You just take your x minus 3 times 2x plus 1 and you FOIL that out. So we've got 2x squared plus x minus 6x minus 3.
Right.
Combine your like terms.
Okay, that'll give me the negative 5x in the middle. Okay, yeah, so 2x
I've got
squared.
2x squared
Yeah.
minus 5x minus 3.
Okay.
Is that the original question?
Yeah, I think so. Let's go back and check. Yeah.
All right, double check. Awesome.
Okay,
so
we've
got it right.
That's it. Great.